What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we got the Genesis Coupe in front of us here, and we are finally going to get started working on this thing today. Now, specifically in this video, we're going to focus on the fender flares. We're going to peel this vinyl wrap. We're going to assess how much damage or cracks or chips is left on these things, and then hopefully, if all goes well and these things aren't too beat up after we get this vinyl wrap off, we're going to figure out what we can do and how much work we need to put in to get these things smoothed out, because I do want to put a little bit more work in them, because as you can see, there are a couple of little bit of waves left in these things. Now, I did go through once way back in 2020 when I originally did this setup and smooth out some problem areas, but there's still definitely more work to be done. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it and get this vinyl wrap off. All right, so as you can see, we got all the fender flares on the workbench. I went ahead off camera and just pulled off the little bit of vinyl wrap that was on it, as well as the fender strip, or like that fender welt or whatever they actually call that rubber stuff. But these things are actually in way better shape than I had thought. I just had a feeling that these things are gonna get super beat up, but I mean, aside from a few spots right here where the primer came off, because this is actually like Bondo and body filler filling in gaps right here, these things are actually in perfect shape. There's a bunch of rock chips on the bottom, especially on the rear flares. So you can see right here we got rock chips, and we got some rock chips, but that is actually just primer. That's the primer being chipped off underneath the vinyl wrap and not actually divots. So this is just a sand scuff and reprimer, and that's it. We got a couple of little cracks right here. This is what I was talking about in the last video where I said the tires are so small that it's kind of chipping and cracking this, putting too much stress on it. So there's stress cracks right there. There's stress cracks right here. This camera is absolutely not going to pick that up, but just trust me. So yeah, these things are actually in way better shape. We're just going to do a little bit of prep and get started on that. And yeah, I can't believe how good of shape these things are in, especially for how much these were assumed they got beat up. But yeah, so far so good. Let's get started on a couple of little repairs. All right, so that had to be the easiest fiberglass repairs I've ever done. This all just literally sanded out. So now you guys can see there's a couple different layers on here. So the black right here is like just a regular sandable primer. Then you got the lighter gray right there, which is high build filler primer, and then you got the darker gray, which is like the manufacturer's finish on the actual fiberglass fender flares itself. So as you can see, those chips were literally just the first and second layer of primer. Those sanded right out down to the base layer of fiberglass from the manufacturer, and these things are absolutely perfect. So that was really nice. I put a lot of layers of filler primer and the black primer on top when I originally did these in 2020, so I get the smoothest finish without any pinholes and chips and all that stuff. So that makes sense. That's why this happens. Now the bottom of the flares do take a beating because of the way they're mounted on the car. So this is like a Liberty Walk style where it comes all the way down and sucks underneath the side skirt. And then same thing on the rear. And then because I got the camber, it just rocks all the way down at the rear flare. So that's why that happens. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, so far so good. That was quick and easy. If I'm going to be honest with you, if this is going to be this easy to do like the prep work and sand out the imperfections, I'm not going to record any of that. I'm just going to do it off camera so I don't kill you guys with a bunch of time lapses. And then I'll just update you on any of the major areas that we're going to have to do actual fiberglass repairs, because there are going to be a couple spots like down here we're probably going to need a little bit. This edge is a little chipped up, and then these stress cracks that are up here. But yeah, so far super smooth process. I will update you guys when I finish prepping all 4 flares. All right, so it is probably like maybe an hour and a half later, and as you can see, these things are all sanded up. I did get just a little bit carried away, lost some time here, but I got everything absolutely perfect. So this flare, which is the passenger side front, and then this flare, which is the passenger side rear, these things are absolutely perfectly fine. No fiberglass repairs needed on these things. Absolutely fantastic. Sanded all this, everything is good. Those are good, that one's good. And then this is the driver side flares. These ones are gonna need some fiberglass repairs. But as you can see, we got a little carried away, did a whole bunch of sanding, did a whole bunch of smoothing. Now we're gonna have to do a chip right there repair, a little like divot right there, another one right there, we got another one right there. So like from here all the way to here is going to be fiberglass repairs, just a little bit of patchwork. Basically the same thing we already did in the previous video on this flare, just needs to be touched up a little bit more. The bottom sanded absolutely perfectly, got all the rock chips out. I mean, the rock chips right here didn't even go through the primer, as you can see, absolutely fantastic. This one, we sanded all of this, got a little carried away. There's a high spot right here, so sanded that out, sanded that out. This is looking pretty good right along here. We're gonna have to do another little chip repair right here. And then right here on the bottom, this thing got a little bit beat up, needs a little bit of a crack right there, as you can see. Can you see that? A little bit, yep, but yeah, so that's where we're at. Sanding went great. These things look good. It's just these two that need a tiny bit of fiberglass work. And then, yeah, so let's just prep these things up and get right into this and finish these things up. All right, so that was probably one of my worst fiberglass repairs ever. That's saying in boxing, everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face. That was my punch in the face moment. I had the camera in a terrible spot. Couldn't get the brush in, couldn't see, just all around, just a mess. This is the first time I've done a fiberglass repair in a very long time. But yeah, that's why I started on this section and not something that's gonna be visible, like the middle of the arch of the flare right there. So now that that's out of the way, I'm gonna regroup, get on to the more important parts, which is over there. Unfortunately, this is going to require a ton of sanding to get this smoothed out, but I did build up plenty of thickness to fill in the chips, and I guess that's what's really important. But not my best work. Let's do better on the rest of the flares. Alrighty guys, so unfortunately the camera died there and I didn't have the other batteries charged and it was getting late, so while the batteries were charging, I went ahead and finished this flare off camera. So this thing came out absolutely perfect. I went ahead and cleaned up the hole that was covered up by fiberglass, sanded this corner. Ooh, there's a little spot, I gotta sand that thing. I missed a little spot, whoops. But the underside looks good, the inside is good, the crack is fixed. That is all set. Now one thing that did happen is I got 2 air pockets on this area right there and then another one right there. So I'm gonna just lay another piece of fiberglass on this and here before I leave today. I'm not gonna record that because that's gonna take 2 seconds and I've killed you guys enough with time lapses of me sanding and fiberglass. The bottom part that I did in the beginning part of this video that I said was gonna be an absolute pain in the butt to sand and make good again, actually came out perfect, nice and smooth. Took a long time, but hey, at least it's done. That's why I did that one first. It's all the way at the bottom and you're never gonna see it. And then this flare came out absolutely fantastic. I built this up like crazy so I could get a nice sharp edge here. This was kind of like a test area. So if you guys can't tell, this flare, the edge right here, the body line is actually very rounded over. And now if we go over here, let's see if I can get a good angle here. It's a nice sharp edge, so it's a hard body line. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I built this up so that way these flares, especially these rare ones, are always kind of pitched in instead of being flat and straight down and perpendicular to the ground. So now they are nice and flat and perpendicular, got a nice sharp edge. I need to continue this all the way down the rest of the flare, but that's going to be saved for a later date. And then also have to copy this to the other flare. Now speaking of the other flares, they are right over there, tucked away, nice and safe. Those didn't need any fiberglass repairs, just sand, and those are good. But yeah, everything came out perfect. Super happy with how it is. Super happy with the condition of these things after 4 years. I really thought these things were going to be absolutely beat up, but they actually survived pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. I must say, I got to give myself a pat on the back here. When I originally did the fiberglass work on these things 4 years ago when I was redoing the car, I did a pretty dang good job. Everything held up, nothing cracked, no stress cracks, everything sanded smooth. These things held up great, so I'm super happy with that. Now, as far as the next video, don't really know. I did want to try and go ahead and smooth out these flares. I've mentioned it in other videos way back when, but I absolutely hate this shelf thing here. I hate this. I just don't know why it's there. I want it to be nice and smooth. I really hope I can go ahead and do that while I'm still in this garage, but in real time, I got to be out of here in less than a week. So I only have really 3 days to actually work on this car, which is going to be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is going to be Memorial Day. So we'll see if I start this project or if I just get this car and all my tools and stuff out of this garage this weekend instead of waiting till in the middle of the week and starting a project that I can't finish. So we're going to see if I want to do that. But yeah, for now, everything came out absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I'm super happy with these things. But that's it for today. So peace out, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.